this is probably my third time to really share my story in this kind of venue, and I'm not necessarily like a great speaker like Lori, but I was really blessed. A lot of y'all, I sat with John while y'all were telling your stories, and it just really meant a lot to me to hear everybody's stories, and so I am glad to share mine today. I was diagnosed, well, I would not say I was ever misdiagnosed, but I went a very long time, I think, being undiagnosed. And what that meant for me was I was very anemic for a long time, just chronically anemic. And I had some lack of continuity of care because I was moving. I got divorced and then moved again. And so, every time you get a new doctor, it's like fresh start. And they would suggest iron. They would say, well, you're of a certain age now, and a lot of older women just have anemia. And so I was like, okay. But I finally reached a point where I was like, I'm taking iron, I'm doing all these things, it's not helping. And I went in and asked for an endoscopy and a colonoscopy to try to see if there was anything, going on. And sure enough, in 2014, that's when I went in. And the doctor that did the colonoscopy, he came out immediately. And he didn't wait to send me to somebody or have somebody else tell me. He was like, yes, you have colon cancer. And he said, sometimes we can't tell if it's just a polyp or something, but yeah, that's ugly. So it's like, oh, great. And I remember I was, still kind of sedation crazy, but I put my hand on his arm and I was like, I have kids. I need you to help me. And I had the colonoscopy on Thursday. I went in and had all my scans and pre-op done on Friday, and I had surgery on Monday. So, things kind of got fast and furious at that point. And of course, scared to death, don't know what to tell the kids. We're our blended family, so I didn't do all the work on those 6 kids. But we had, at the time, one grown son that was out of the house, but we had a 17-year-old, 15, 14, 12, and my 4-year-old. And so, you don't know what to think, what to tell them, what they're going to understand, really what you're facing. So I went in and had the surgery. They took out a little over a foot of my colon. It was just one tumor, but not the prettiest one ever. And like 50 lymph nodes, which is like 5 times the normal amount. And they biopsied everything, and everything came back clear. The tumor was cancerous, but all my lymph nodes were clear. They said, good margins, everything looks good. And so, then you have that release because they're like, it's stage 1 and we got it and you don't even need chemo. And it was like, it's a miracle. That's not what I expected. And we had a family trip planned, a mission trip to go to Alaska and do some service projects that summer. So this happened in March. So tried to recover from the surgery, took our older kids to Alaska, came back, got the results from a follow-up CAT scan, and apparently it was a really aggressive tumor. And because on that CAT scan, they basically stopped counting at 30, but my entire liver was pretty much engulfed in tumors, and they were all pretty big, like 3 centimeters, like small chicken egg, Probably y'all all remember that moment when you're sitting there and the doctor tells you and it feels like all the air goes out of the room and everything just It's like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 and you just can't absorb it. So, what do? You just keep going. You just press in and you go and you do what they tell you and you learn along the way. And so I started immediately. Systemic chemo. I did FOLFOX plus Avastin, which lots of you are probably familiar with. The big bad boy, all the side effects, fatigue and neuropathy, and I kind of don't even really remember a lot of that time period. I think I've blocked it out for safety's sake. But I do remember one of my close friends from church came over, and the oncologist had the discussion with me about basically, like, get your affairs in order. We're going to do this chemo, but you need to get your affairs in order. My friend from church came over, and I remember just looking at her because I had this flash of a realization that, I don't have any independent memories from like 4 years old and younger. And my son was 4. And so I told her then, I was like, Erica, I need to live long enough that my son has a memory of me. And at that moment, that's all I wanted. You ask for, I've discovered as I've gone along, like you sort of ask for increments. I want this far, and I want that far. And, that's all I could think of at the moment. I want my son to remember me. Sorry. That's the only thing that makes me do that. So, anyway, and I did it. And I told the oncologist, I was like, I'm not a quality of life person. I want quantity. Give me everything you got. Make me sick. I'll puke every day. I don't even care. Just get it. Get it, And she did. She took me at my word, and I was sick. But it worked. The FOLFOX, I did about 14 rounds, and all of those tumors shrank. They just, like my CEA and every CAT scan, smaller, less, And at the end of FOLFOX, like my CEA was like 0.7, which is perfect, And I had 2 little spots on my liver, and she said, I think those are just scar tissue. They may be something, but they may just be scar tissue. So, you have that moment again where you take a deep breath and you're like, well, I'm kicking it, I'm getting it. She said, so as of this moment, we're calling it no evidence of disease. And that's hard to accept. I don't know if y'all feel that way. When you have that moment when they say that to you, it's like, that's great. I don't believe you. So I kind of went back and forth and tried to believe and tried to embrace it. And I was at that time, but those little spots were not scar tissue. So I was on maintenance chemo, but they did start to grow again. And so I was really fortunate because my oncologist has, I haven't had to fight her for treatment or, go in and ask her for certain things. She immediately was like, okay, so there's this great treatment, Surspheres Y90. I have a great interventional radiologist. Let's do that. Let's just fight them right there in your liver. So I went in 2015 and I had Surspheres done. And like most people that had it, I think I had a really good experience. I was super, super nauseous afterwards. But as far as side effects, compared to all the other treatments I had, it was a walk in the park. So I had that and had a great result. Everything that was in my liver totally fried it. One other spot had popped up and it killed that. So, again, great. So now I'm just on maintenance chemo again and Xeloda and Avastin and they do make you sick. They make you nauseous. You don't want to eat. However, you never seem to lose weight. I don't know what's up with that. And so just kept going, getting up taking the kids to school, trying to do everything and just live your life, right? So the search spheres did not cure everything for me. It did kill everything that was there. But apparently, this is an aggressive one. This one is like, she calls it whack-a-mole on my liver. She's like, you're going to have a pop, we're going to whack it. And another one will pop, we'll whack it. So I had another one pop up, and that's when I got to experience irinotecan for the first time. And that was last fall. So, some chemo gifts are more special than others. And I really don't care about the hair, honestly. So currently I am on systemic chemo. I'm doing irinotecan and Xeloda and Avastin, and I'm living with it just fine. It's not my favorite, but I feel, I don't know, I have a safer feeling when I'm on chemo because I feel like I'm doing something, and I vastly prefer that to waiting and seeing. The whole wait and see, I hate that. So I'm currently doing that, and it's working great. I had a new spot pop on my liver right before I started it, which is why we started it. And I had a PET scan, when was it? In October. And it was totally gone. She is currently, again, calling me no evidence of disease. However, I am staying on irinotecan for a while, because we want to just make sure. I really want to make sure. And so, I'm like pretty much the rest of you. You have the roller coaster, you get up here. So then this feels like, a brand new surprise, and it's new every time. But I believe that new things are happening with cancer treatments. And so I believe the longer that we fight and the longer that we live with this and we keep on going, the more options we'll have, the more effective things will be. And, like with the search spheres, hopefully the treatments, less side effects, more, power. I know they're doing so much with immunotherapy and things like that. So I'm sort of like Dory. I just keep swimming, taking my pills, throwing up every once in a while, taking lots of naps, making my kids do all the chores in the house. And, now my little boy's, he's 7. He has plenty of memories, being grounded, getting in trouble. And, we're just living life with the kids. And something that was said yesterday, and it honestly percolated in my brain as soon as he said it, all yesterday evening. He said, cancer takes a lot from us. You give up a lot. You give up energy. You give up time. You give up your health. You give up feeling good. You give up food. You give up, anything tasting good. All of that. You give up your hair. But you find other things that it gives you. And sometimes people say that and it feels trite and just super annoying. Like, I'll say no thank you to that gift, But when you don't have a choice, being able to find the positive and find the gifts that are part of it, I think it's really important. And so, I was trying to really think last night, like, what can I authentically say that is really true for me? Because I did not magically start playing an Indian flute and become vastly artistically talented. But one thing that has been really important in my life, and I think it was something that it's helped me to learn this, and it's funny because Suzanne mentioned it and we did not talk, but she mentioned the same thing. It's the ability to receive, because I'm usually the one, at the church potluck. I want to go back there and be filling the glasses up with ice and behind the scenes and, not out there and just, doing my thing. And I'll do for you. I'll bring you a meal and I'll do this, And I'm very independent, and I've always been very independent. So I'm not always a good receiver. And I don't mean taker. I don't mean playing the cancer card and, but like just authentically receiving when people give you something out of love. For example, it's been 2.5 years, and pretty much not a week of that 2.5 years has gone by that 2, 3, 4 times a week, sometimes every night when it's been bad, somebody brings my family of 7 a meal. And cooking for 7 is not even a joking matter. It's like you have to really prepare yourself, So people bring us food, and people will just like stop by. I was at Whole Foods, look, here's some organic nectarines, and just receiving that love has been such a healing thing as I'm doing this. I had a friend that for a solid year, last year, she was like, I will take your kids to school every day. Because I don't know if you're like me, but mornings are hard. Like all the side effects, you just feel terrible. And if you have to take pain meds, you're all loopy in the morning. You don't really want to be driving the kids. And I was like, well, maybe we can trade off. And she's like, nope, I'm not talking about trade. I'm not talking about payback. I'm not talking about sharing. Let me just take your kids to school. And I was like, okay, yes. I will say yes. And I learned to say yes and receive, from people when they give out of love, and to really just feel that, and I think all of us have experienced that this weekend, because I can tell you a big part of receiving is I have received a lot of love and a lot of support and a lot from Suzanne. And it has been such a blessing for me. Sometimes she's the first person I call when I get out of a doctor's appointment. That freaks me out. Okay, this just happened. This is what they said. Have you taken this? Have you done this? And she talks me down, and then we keep on swimming, And after I first met her, she was like, y'all just need to come out. Just come out and stay with us for the weekend. It's free. Just come and stay. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. That feels weird. I can't go out and stay in somebody's bed and breakfast for free. Awkward. I didn't know how to receive that, because it felt like, let me do something in return. Well, and then there is no thing to do in return, but then I just was like, yes. And I received it out of the love that she was giving it from. And it's been amazing. And I think for all of us this weekend, it's been amazing. And I know, this retreat has been her dream for literally years. And I can't even imagine how many hours, she put into it. I can a little bit imagine. And I'm glad that we're able to receive that. And, part of that whole cycle is like receiving that and then giving it back, because there's people that are, maybe a year or 2 behind us on the journey, or, they're still at the place where all the air feels sucked out of the room, or they're at the place where they feel like they've tried everything and they're, just looking for support. And so when we are able to receive and be stronger and get encouraged and get re-energized, then we can also kind of give back. And so I hope that we could all do that with this retreat, because I know, like, when I go home, I'm like, whoo, fresh start, energy, spent weekend with the Energizer Bunny, and, I feel good. So anyway, I just want to encourage us to do that, because that's part of the gift. So thank you.